Well, like, during commercial, like during commercial.
Oh, yeah. I thought you meant you came back and I was running the second camera.
No, they're gonna come back and check it out. No, I didn't set your camera.
And another thing, when somebody thinks you did something decent, the expectations go up. That's no good for nobody. That's no good.
Tom, I'm gonna slide your bottle of water out of the way for a sec there. So I can get my headset. You're good. I just wanted to grab my headset. Oh, let me close the curtain so people can see Tom.
Hey, man.
Oh, look, he got it all going on. He got a nice screen. I'm gonna photo bomb.
If I can get it to stay here.
Tom don't play.
I'm photo bomb.
Ah, hey, how are you?
What's up, Tom?
It's Eddie. Hey, Eddie.
Hi, Tom. You saucy vixen.
I'm a photo bomber. The greatest photo bomb I ever had was I was getting a picture taken with Bob Nutting. I think it was either Bob Nutting or Bob Walk from the Pirates.
Well,
And Mark Garda, who runs the Pirates.
my behavior would be different depending on which one.
Well, and Mark Garda, who runs the communications for the Pirates,
Yeah.
leans back and photo bombs me. I was like, yeah, you suck. I looked in the picture, he's laughing. I was like, oh man. I was like, only you, Garda.
Yeah, my facial expression would be different with Walkie than it would be with Owner Guy.
Oh, no doubt, no
The
doubt.
Owner Guy, you just
Actually, Nutting's pretty cool. He's just doesn't know how to run a
just
baseball.
one. No, dude.
Don't want to
No,
put
he
money.
runs it. He does know how to run a baseball team, but the
knows how to
bottom line,
run
he
a business.
absolutely does.
He knows how to run a business.
When you're in the black before you sell a ticket, hey man, that's business is good.
Yeah, for you, not for the fans.
57. July, 5 laws of gold. That's there. Okay.
Oh, you know what you want there?
No.
I gotta go hit the record button.
Way to go, man. You're getting to do my job more.
Hey, everybody. We are at WBVP-WMBA radio station in Beaver Falls, Pennsylvania. We're going to be live here in a moment, so hang in there. Hold on to your chair. We're going to talk about the 5 laws of gold today. Don't forget to tune in at noon for the Family Money Farm Group, and we're on there every day. A lot of good stuff.
PR Governor Andrew Cuomo's denial of a cover-up in the coronavirus nursing home scandal being met with sharp criticism.
Current book this month, The Richest Man in Babylon. We're going to talk today about that. We're going to talk about how reading books really ties in to your financial success. Personal success, business success. Growth is not optional.
News source, 1230 WBVP, 1460 WMBA, 99.3 FM,
Then I'll
and
do it.
streaming at
It was originally announced,
VoiceAmerica.com.
though, yes.
Here's Frank
Not that it's been
Sparks.
canceled. No.
Okay, that's what I mean. All right, you ready?
Yeah.
Here we go.
And good morning. As the temperature continues to fall, we're down to 27 degrees in Beaver County. Expect falling temperatures throughout the day today. With we already reached our high of 36. Be 22 degrees by dinner time. Just a slight chance of snow. We'll have a complete Beaver County forecast for you after we have this look at news. PennDOT has lifted all the speed limit restrictions that were put in place, as a restriction of 45 miles an hour was put in place on Interstate 79, 376, 279, and 579 yesterday. All speed limits are back to the posted speeds, but please still, as the temperature goes down, roadways can freeze, so be careful as you are out there. An Elwood City man was charged with pulling out a loaded handgun during an Elport bar fight last year. He was sentenced to 2 years probation in Lawrence County Court on February the 2nd. Cameron Rudy was reported to have waved a loaded handgun during a March 15th of 2020 dispute inside the Oak Grove Bar on Portersville Road. Rudy had previously pled guilty to carrying an unlicensed firearm in exchange for more serious charges being dropped. Fire crews were called to home Tuesday morning in McCandless Township around 4 a.m. The home is located on Windmill Lane, which is right behind McIntyre Square off of McKnight Road. No one is living in the home, and a neighbor called to report the fire. Fire marshal is investigating the cause of the fire, which does not appear to be suspicious, and the fireman was treated at the scene for dehydration. Pennsylvania's Republican Party may meet to discuss censuring U.S. Senator Pat Toomey over his vote to convict Donald Trump during the former president's second impeachment trial. County party officials said that the state GOP chairman Lawrence Tabes emailed them shortly after Saturday's impeachment vote to tell them that a meeting is being planned to discuss the Senate's action. Toomey is one of 7 Republicans who voted to convict former President Trump of incitement of insurrection. A resolution to censure Toomey came up for discussion at the state party's leadership committee meetings on February the 6th, weeks after Toomey had said Trump committed impeachable offenses in the January 6th insurrection at the Capitol. They decided against voting on it at that time. And speaking of former President Donald Trump, he gave some of his supporters a thrill yesterday when he made a surprise appearance at a rally near his Mar-a-Lago estate. Hundreds of people were in the area to celebrate the President's Day holiday and the former president's acquittal in his second impeachment trial. The crowd roared with approval as the former president's SUV slowed down in front of them. He could be seen waving and shouting, "We love you," to the supporters lining the street. And police say a head-on crash in North Huntington killed 4 people and seriously injured 1 other person over the weekend. North Huntington Township Police said a westbound vehicle on Route 30 ended up in the eastbound lane and hit another vehicle at about 6 p.m. on Sunday. Police said one driver, 51-year-old Thuthai Usain Nugent of Greensburg, died at the scene. Police said 2 passengers from North Huntington, 67-year-old Lan Thai Trin and 30-year-old Fungan Tran, were pronounced dead at Forbes Hospital in Monroeville. Police said a passenger in the other car, 44-year-old Jeffrey Tomei of McKeesport, also died at the scene, and the driver was hospitalized. And finally, Pennsylvania State Senator has announced plans to resign his seat to join office of his fellow Democratic congressman representing the northeastern Pennsylvania territory. State Senator John Blake is to begin his new role in the office of U.S. Rep. Matt Cartwright on March the 8th. A joint announcement said Blake is to work on economic development initiatives in the Commonwealth's 8th Congressional District, which includes portions of Lackawanna, Luzerne, Monroe, Pike, and Wayne counties. The Archibald native has represented his Pennsylvania Senate District for a decade and previously worked in the State Department of Community and Economic Development. And your Beaver County forecast for today is a chance of snow showers mainly before 2 p.m. today. Temperatures will be falling throughout the day to a temperature of 22 degrees right around dinner time today. No additional accumulation is expected, and tonight's going to be very cold overnight, mostly cloudy with a low of 8. And then tomorrow, mostly cloudy with a high of 25. Thursday, snow possible, mixed with freezing rain before 2 p.m., and then snow between 2 and 4 p.m., then rain and snow after 4 p.m. with a high of 34. And Friday, chance of snow showers till lunchtime, high of 30 degrees. Currently, we're 27 degrees in Beaver County. That is a look at the news for now. Our next newscast is coming up at the bottom of the hour. I'm Frank Sparks, Beaver County Radio News. 1230 WBVP, 1460 WMBA, 99.3 FM presented by St. Barnabas, and streaming live around the world, beavercountyradio.com.
Going live now. If the mic, oh, come on.
Let's put brand new batteries and all that. There you go.
All right, stand by. Got the disclaimer. Got Tom, please feed. I love when I don't know what's going on and I come in and things are set up in my favor. I didn't know that Tom was visiting today, and Tom's visiting, and that's in my favor. That is absolutely Tom Young, the First Consultants, is my guest for the first hour. How are you? Good to see you. It's been a little bit. Anyway.
I missed you last month. You know, we were here and you weren't. So
well, you know what?
I understand you had some issues, and my prayers were with you.
As Lyle Lovett said, "Here I am. Yes, it's me." Tom Young of First Consultants is my guest for the first hour. The program content is being provided by First Consultants. You can follow this. Tom's making a smiley face on my Facebook page.
Okay. Yep. Yeah.
We're on
live
radio, live on your Facebook page.
That's correct.
And when I went downstairs and saw you this morning, I said, "What are we talking about?" Because you know me, I like to pretend like I know what's going on a little bit. And you're talking about something today that I'm not going to pretend I know about it. I have been a fan forever. You're talking straight up gold? Is that right?
5 laws of gold.
All right.
5 laws of gold.
All right. Should I have all my money buried in my backyard? in gold and stuff for when Armageddon comes? I'll just throw that out.
That's a possible option, Eddie. There are so many things out there. We'll get into it. Hi, folks. I'm Tom Young, First Consultants Inc. I'm an author, professional speaker. If you're looking for a speaker for your organization, please give me a call. For nonprofits and those type of organizations, there is no fee. And I have a range of subjects that I talk about, from spiritual, personal growth. I'm a certified life coach, a human behavior consultant by some education. I'm an author. I've written several books. Life Insurance Will It Pay When I Die, wrote in 2006. It's a handbook about life insurance policies. I believe there's information in there that nobody really knows about, because there was a lot of this universal life insurance sold over the years, and a lot of people, after they had it for a while, figured out it was a pig in a poke. It was just very expensive. Term life insurance is what it was. So that book has been, second edition is now out. I had it republished last year. Also have a new book, The Family Money Farm, the CFO Project. It will light up your financial future and give you absolute hands-on how to do things. There are 4 stories of 4 different clients over the years that I've had in there, and their story on where they started and where it ended up at. All 4 of them are still clients today. You wouldn't recognize them because we changed occupation, who they are, and changed a lot of information. Also have an ebook, Jumpstart Your Financial Freedom. You can get to that book through CFO-project.com. I have another ebook that is just getting ready to be published, Financial Mastery Blueprint. Also, I've written a foreword on a book called Live Your Life Insurance by a gal named Kim Butler, who is a longtime friend of mine, and she is amazing. She has another book. She has several books, and one called The Real Estate Lies. And we're going to talk about that before the show's over today, because we're going to talk about places and where to save the money. Remember, share the show today. Share it with other people. Get other people involved. This information is information that must be shared with everybody, because we have this big cloud sitting over us in Washington, D.C., called the debt of the government and the unfunded liability. We'll also talk a little bit about that today.
I have learned more about the economic side of government sitting here listening to you than I guarantee I did in the class when I was supposed to be learning that stuff.
Well,
but you're right. That cloud grows darker every single day.
Absolutely. America is on the verge of bankruptcy. The World Bank is sitting back, making this happen, Eddie. You have to realize that the Federal Reserve, the central banking system of America, it reaches all over the world. There is a central banking system in every free country of the world, and then there is one World Bank over top of that, and it leads to, I believe, the Rothschilds, and in conspiracy theories, it is believed that they are worth over $50 trillion. That's a T for trillion.
Okay, no, wait. A billion is 1,000 million.
So a trillion is 1,000 billion.
Billion?
Yes. That's a lot of zeros, Eddie. It's a lot of zeros, and we'll intertwine that today.
That's more zeros than my neighborhood group of buddies. My brain can't wrap around that.
It is so important, Eddie, that we as individuals, we are not going to change the government. We are not going to change the central banking system. But what we can do is we can prepare ourselves to be in what I would refer to as a survival mode, and not lose everything along the way, because eventually this thing in Washington is going to implode, explode, whatever you want to call it. In history is history, and this stuff, the chickens have always come home to roost,
Sooner or later.
That's sooner or later.
What's the catalyst going to be for that? Or is there one catalyst? Is the catalyst right now going on, and it's a slow
Eddie,
progression?
if I knew the answer to that question,
Yeah.
I believe there are a lot of catalysts,
Okay.
and I guess if I would talk about some of them, we would get shut off. Like big tech has closed off and closed accounts on people that talk about the possibilities of things that are going on out there
It's
that,
not.
that
It's
are
not the word police. It's becoming the idea police.
absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely, and it is absolutely scary, Eddie, when you think about when big tech companies and the things going on can actually stop our free speech. In other words, I can't talk about what I feel like, I can't. There are things that I have in my mind that I believe that there is unending volumes of proof,
Okay.
but yet it is denied. A lie is easily believed. A lie repeated often enough is easily believed, but the truth takes work, Eddie. It takes work to believe truth. So, and there's this old saying about people, a person convinced against their will is of the same opinion still. And so it is really challenging when we know something is true. I have a situation right now with a client. They became clients in 2018. Okay. And when they came to me, they had 8 positions of debt outside of the mortgage. This is in addition to the mortgage.
You're talking fancy. You're talking fancy, but 8 positions.
Eight credit cards,
okay.
8 credit cards and personal loan positions for over $40,000. They were paying $2,600 a month in monthly payments, and they make almost. They had 6-figure income.
Yeah.
But they had lost control. And when I say that in the meetings that I had with them, I sort of come to the conclusion it was sort of the wife who couldn't stop spending money in what they were doing. And so we laid out a plan. In other words, it was a program I have. It was all printed out. And if she did this and we were going to use a dividend-paying whole life insurance policy with a paid-up addition rider. Now, what's that? That is an addition on a policy where you can actually stuff cash in it. Remember, if I have a place that I can put money where it eliminates the government, it eliminates the knowledge of the government knowing what I'm doing, it eliminates ever getting a 1099 about my money. It gives me complete privacy. But it gives me access to the money without taxes or fees and ongoing. So we created a place to put the money. So we took some money, paid a couple of the smaller debts off, and so then we started to put it into this contract, and it accumulated money. And it's funny because right now, between the 2 policies, husband and wife, there's almost $15,000 in cash value. The first level of loan she has now paid off, but a friend of her son's got involved, and he is a so-called professional.
Okay.
And they contacted me and started asking me why I did this and why I did that and why I did this. And I always love people that stick their nose in and they don't know. They were not at any of the meetings. They have not read any of the documents that were created in the beginning that created what I would call the trailway. In other words, the roadmap on what to do each step of the way. But yet they want a question on how and why what I did was put together. So it was an interesting conversation yesterday, and I wish the folks luck. I really do with all my heart, because, so far it has absolutely worked and done exactly what we told them it was going to do, but they haven't been back in almost 3 years. 2018, right. This is 2021, so we're 3 years out.
Right. They
have not been back since I started the program. There's been a couple of phone calls in the files, but they have never come back for review or how am I doing, what's doing this, et cetera. So I pray for those people and where they're going.
I want to ask you a question, and
Yes,
we
sir.
haven't even talked about the 5 rules of gold yet.
Well, we'll get there.
And we will, but
we'll get there.
You said something when you were talking about the debt of the couple and spending more. It sounds like a recent problem. Is that something you're running into with the pandemic and with COVID and with people being hemmed up at home?
In reality, Eddie, I find people are saving more money.
Are they? Okay.
I know my own situation. My expenditures for the year since last spring, since the beginning of last year, are way lower because I go on 4, 5, 6 trips a year to conferences. They're educational training. Haven't been to any of those, so that has saved me probably $20,000 to $25,000 of expenses
Oh, easy.
that I would have spent or more for education that I do every year. In addition to that, the hotel and all those other things. So they've become Zoom. And I have got comfortable with that because I do Zoom every day. We do the live Facebook. I've got over 300 Facebooks and podcasts out there now in what I'm doing. And just to provide absolute provable, simple education for folks how to end up the stories better. You know, we people say to me, Tom, I wish I'd have met you 20 years ago. And I say, well, I'm sorry, I don't have a time machine. We can't go back.
If I had that,
And
I'd have a different job. Yeah.
and if we could go back, I would want to at least take back with me what I've learned. You know, I don't want to go back and start over again. You want to move the screen over so I can see the time the number on that?
Well, you can talk as long as you want.
Oh, okay. Well, I know we got news. So I want to be a good guest on your show, Eddie.
I'd rather listen to you than me. You go as long as you want. You came in this morning, you were saying 5 rules of gold. The first thing that my brain did was flash back to the old Daffy Duck Bugs Bunny cartoon.
Yeah.
Gold, 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 mine, 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 down, down, down. So you've already set the mood. Right.
Well, who would have thought? Now, you know, we're going to talk about gold and the 5 laws of gold today.
Right.
Now, this is the current subject. I do a book a month on my Facebook Live. So,
How do you do a book a month? What do you mean?
well, I believe in personal growth. In other words, you have to grow you in order to grow your wealth, your success in life. You can't be who you are today and 10 years from now be super successful as the same person you are today. You have to grow you. It comes back. Think of the lottery, the state lottery, Eddie. How long's it been around? About 40 years now?
Yeah, it's been a
good,
while.
Good 40 years or more even.
Yeah, they've gone through 8 or 10 different groundhogs, I know.
Well, believe me, why is it that 85% of all the folks that won all that lottery money, millions of dollars,
Right.
85% of them ended up worse off, bankrupt, in jail, and it ruined their lives.
Dead.
Because when they got the money, they didn't get new thinking. You know, the thinking muscle, I talk about that all the time, the thinking muscle between your ears. The 6 inches between your ears is the most valuable real estate in the world. It just is. And everything that exists, other than what God created naturally, came from somebody 6 inches there, Eddie. I mean, the computers, the paraphernalia, everything we're sitting here doing, somebody had to think of this stuff before it was created. It didn't just appear.
Magically.
It had to be created, you know, so people had to have a thought. A thought leads to action. Action leads to habit. Habit leads to integrity, character, who you become in your life.
Where do we fall off that ladder? Because a lot of people have thoughts, and it seems like it goes from a lot of thoughts to fewer actions.
Well, the biggest challenge that we all face, and I say we because I have been there, it's belief in ourselves. In other words, the person that looks back in the mirror, do you like that person?
Oh my gosh, no.
Well, that's the beginning of the problem, Eddie, because we don't believe in ourselves. You have to start believing. You have to believe the great thing can happen in your life. It starts with the thinking muscle between your ears. You have to visualize. You have to see it. You know, I told the story in the past about my daughter's car when she graduated high school. You know, we went a couple years before that, got a poster at the Volkswagen garage. She wanted a Volkswagen Bug. And so it came down to the thing, and she graduated with honors, the goal, the deal. And so I had to go find this car. Well, I went and found the car, delivered it to her the day we had her graduation party, and that afternoon she came out with a poster she had on her bedroom wall for 3 years. It was the car, Eddie. It was the car. It was the same year, the model, color in the poster. It was a photograph of the car that was sitting in the driveway. That's the power of visualization and the power of the mind. You have to think about it before you're ever going to receive it.
Tom Young is my guest. Tom of First Consultants. Continue with him. We'll get to the 5 rules of gold. Frank's next with the news on Beaver County Radio. Frank.
He squeezed me off, folks. We have to take a break. Have to pay for the show.
Somebody got to pay me.
Somebody has to pay Eddie.
I hate saying this out loud. I would do this for free. That just popped
Don't
out.
worry about it. It does that.
So we're still good?
Yeah, it's still working.
Okay.
Here's where you gotta go here.
Where I gotta go? Oh, yeah. Thank you.
As long as that's working, that's working.
The other, okay. So if it does pop up.
Yeah, I don't know why it does that. It only
Well, I
does
mean,
with
it was
Tom
like the
Young.
last 30
It's a special Tom Young thing. It only does it.
Tom Brooks.
Yeah, now they're telling me it's a Tom Young thing. When they have problems there, it's my fault.
Okay. You ready to go?
When in doubt, the guy that's not here, as much. It was that one
Started with
guy.
a road trip into the American Midwest. Huntington bankers with one mission.
Well, we're
to
taking
understand how
a
people
commercial
make
break
money
right now, and then we're going to go into the news. So hang in there, folks. We'll be back in a few minutes. We're going to get into the 5 laws of gold after the news. So
It's messy, but it gives us a sense of what's coming.
And that's how we came up with a tool that helps businesses forecast cash flow digitally. Our customers
don't forget, later today at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time, I will be back on live. We will continue our story this week. Actually, we're covering the 5 laws of gold this week in my office, in our Facebook Live, and so we're gonna get there. And today, I'll tell you what it's going to be today. Today is Tuesday, so it's diligently and contentedly for the wise. Gold laboreth. In other words, I talk about that. Money has to work for you. Money has to generate income because retirement planning is passive residual income. It isn't net worth. Net worth has very little to do with successful retirement planning. So you have to think of that, the thinking muscle again. You have to think of what you really want in the future. So I got to be quiet now. So we'll be back in a couple minutes while they do the news.
Fortune 500 establishment. Click fortifyit.com or call 724-800-0303. Get the
Ignorance and apathy, man. Don't know, don't care.
Engineers are on their way. Well, just in
I'll
case.
give you a view of the
It could be
station.
worse.
Here we are.
It could be Texas.
There's Frank. And there's Eddie over there. Where you at, Eddie? There you are.
99.3 or online at beavercountyradio.com.
Hello, people.
Or entertains like
And do you want sound?
I have none.
devices anytime.
You have none?
None.
So that would be a no.
Yes.
All right.
That's a solid no. Nothing's going on today. You'd think there would be with all the
Quiet day.
ice.
No, man. I went outside. Last night was not good. But this morning it was like, okay, it's wet.
Oh no, see for
Diane's car was way more covered than mine.
Yeah, for me, my whole house, like anywhere outside my house, like even the stones in my driveway were like an ice
No.
cream.
And Ambridge had started thawing about sunup, I think.
Well, now it's getting cold, so
Look at that.
we're down to 26 already. What?
30. Here we go. Right?
And good morning. Currently, we are at 26 degrees in Beaver County. Our temperature is falling. It will fall throughout the day. We're down to about 22 degrees right around dinner time. Slight chance of snow. No accumulation throughout the rest of the day as the winter storm warning has been lifted a little bit early today. Well, Pennsylvania State Police have canceled that Amber Alert that went off last hour for a 17-year-old girl from southern New York who went missing here in western Pennsylvania. Stephanie White, who was 17 years old, was last seen in the area of Route 8 in Harrisonville, Butler County. According to state police, White was reportedly abducted by a 50-year-old Michael Mesco. However, a short time after issuing the alert, state police say they had located White safely. State police have not yet said anything about Mesco or what the relationship was. PennDOT has also lifted speed limit restrictions that were put in place on several highways in the Pittsburgh region due to the winter storm. Speed limits were reduced to 45 miles an hour yesterday on Interstates 79, 376, 279, and 579, as well as Route 28. All speeds are now restored to the usual posted limits. PennDOT said they will continue to treat the roads throughout the day today as the temperatures continue to fall, but please be careful if you do head out, because as they do fall, some of those wet spots might turn into black ice. An Elwood City man is charged with pulling a loaded handgun during an Elport bar fight last year, and he was sentenced to 2 years probation in Lawrence County Court on February the 2nd. Cameron Rudy, who is 25 years old, was reported to have waved a loaded handgun around during a March 15, 2020 dispute inside the Oak Grove Bar on Portersville Road. Rudy had previously pled guilty to carrying an unlicensed firearm in exchange for more serious charges being dropped. Fire crews were called to a home Tuesday morning in McCandless Township around 4 a.m. The home, located on Windmill Lane, is located behind McIntyre Square right off of McKnight Road. No one is living in the home. A neighbor called to report the fire. A fire marshal is investigating the cause of the fire, which does not appear to be suspicious at this time. And Pennsylvania's Republican Party may meet to discuss censuring U.S. Senator Pat Toomey over his vote to convict Donald Trump during the former president's second impeachment trial. County party officials said that state GOP chairman Lawrence Tabes emailed them shortly after Saturday's impeachment vote to tell them that a meeting is being planned to discuss the Senate's action. Toomey is one of 7 Republicans who voted to convict President Trump of incitement of insurrection. A resolution to censure Toomey came up for discussion at the state party's leadership committee meeting on February the 6th, weeks after Toomey had said Trump committed impeachable offenses in the January 6th riots. And a Pennsylvania state senator has announced plans to resign his seat to join the office of a fellow Democratic congressman representing the northeastern Pennsylvania territory. State Senator John Blake is to begin his new role in the office of U.S. Representative Matt Cartwright on March the 8th. A joint announcement said Blake is to work on economic development initiatives in the Commonwealth's 8th congressional district, which includes portions of Lackawanna, Luzerne, Monroe, Pike, and Wayne counties. The Archibald native has represented his Pennsylvania Senate district for a decade and previously worked in the State Department of Community and Economic Development. And North Carolina says at least 3 people were killed when a tornado tore through a seaside town. At least 10 people were injured in the deadly tornado that hit just after midnight Tuesday night in the southeastern Brunswick County near Grisstown. The tornado comes as millions of people in Texas are still without power early Tuesday amid sub-freezing temperatures. Nearly 4 million homes and businesses were without power early Tuesday in Texas, where temperatures dipped into the single digits overnight. Police say a woman and girl died from suspected carbon monoxide poisoning at a Houston home without electricity from a car running in an attached garage.
How stupid are you
Well,
to run a car on a gas drum and realize that I'm being crass and I'm sorry. Do the weather now.
and a chance of snow showers today, mainly before 2 p.m. Temperatures falling throughout the day to a temperature of 22 degrees by dinner time. No additional snow accumulation is expected. It'll be very cold overnight tonight, mostly cloudy, low of 8 degrees. So if you do have any animals that you're keeping outside, get them in the house. And then Wednesday, mostly cloudy, high of 25. And Thursday, snow is possible, mixed with freezing rain before 2 p.m. And then snow and rain mixing throughout the rest of the day, a high of 34. Friday, a chance of snow showers until lunchtime and a high of 30 degrees. And also, we just have this into the Beaver County newsroom. Beaver Valley Montessori School that was on a 2-hour delay is now closed for today. That is a look at the news for now. Our next newscast is coming up at the top of the hour. I'm Frank Sparks, Beaver County Radio News, 1230 WBVP, 1460 WMBA, 99.3 FM presented by St. Barnabas, and streaming live around the world, beavercountyradio.com.
Would that not be the coolest thing? You thought you had a 2-hour delay, and then they call back. Oh, I don't even have to find
The kids are
shoes
going,
that match.
yay!
Yay!
Well, virtual learning now, it's like not, I mean, snow days were snow days when we were in school, right? I mean,
That's
Come on.
right. That's right. Now they're virtual.
Now
There aren't any snow
still
days.
gotta learn.
Virtual today.
And here would be me. Oh, I don't have to go on the computer all day today. Quick, I'm going on the computer. It's just going to be video games.
I want to know what flexible learning is too, because they have virtual learning and flexible virtual learning. Does
So
that
I
mean you
got
can
through.
choose not to learn today if you want to, since it's flexible?
It's how I got through school. Some teachers were more flexible than others. They got sick of me. And the flexibility was created because I was getting too big for the chair. But they moved me on.
There
That's
you go.
flexible learning. It
All
existed long before Apple.
In other words, you got bigger than the grade. They held you back a couple of years, and you got.
You don't fit the chair no more. I guess 3rd grade is in your future, young man. I'd like to joke that that's not true, but I can't. Tom Young is my guest. Tom Young from First Consultants. All advisory services are offered through Prosperity Economic Partners, LLC, federally registered investment advisor. Prosperity Economics Partners no way affiliated with First Consultants. And Tom, before the break, we were going to talk about the 5 rules of gold, and I got busy asking questions about other stuff you said. I want to talk about gold because I had an uncle that for years, I mean, it was full-blown the legend of Woolly Swamp. He was convinced that he needed to have access to all of his money near him, and he literally had gold, like Ron Swanson in Parks and Rec. He had gold buried in places around his property. Are those any of the rules you're talking about? Because that seems a bit extreme.
It is in substance. Remember, the book that I'm talking about is The Richest Man in Babylon, and the original copyright, Eddie, was 1926.
Okay.
It has been republished more than a dozen times since 1926, and it is truly amazing that the 5 laws of gold. Number 1, save at least 10% of your earnings, and I mean, it does all this thy, and in the book it's neat because it talks like it's 2,000 years ago in the book, and it's fun to read.
Thou shalt not spurn on Amazon.
Absolutely, and the rule number 1, money, gold is really the money we have today. So that's the reference in the book. It's the gold, which was 2,000 years ago, 6,000 years ago. People didn't have paper money. They're
gold coins.
The idea of creating a banking cartel. Now that's Tom's word of the Federal Reserve and the central banking system. It's a banking cartel. It's why President Jackson back in 1845 or 1850 quashed it. They tried to get this thing started back in the 1800s, and then here it is in 1913. The advantage of the government was off their regular time, so there was only a few legislators in place, so they were able to get this thing passed in 1913. And if you want to read a good book, the book is called The Creature of Jekyll Island, that talks about the story of the Federal Reserve of America and how it was created. But you have to take a step back and realize that the Federal Reserve in America is a central banking system that is tied to the World Bank. And we are all just part of a big, and if you think of it, I always like to refer to it like a spider web. You ever walking in the woods, Eddie, and all of a sudden you walk up and you walk into it maybe, and here's this big spider web, typical looking, big spider web with all the lines, and that is what's going on in the world. It's what managed money. It's an example I use for that. But there is the guy in the middle, and the spider in the middle.
The poor little fly, or the spider?
Well, the spider, because as soon as you touch a strand of that web anywhere, the big guy in the middle gets excited because he knows there's supper on the table. And he's coming running out to find out what got caught in my web. But that's the central banking system. In other words, it's tied to every free banking system in the world. Now imagine, Eddie, this is an organization that prints money and creates money from nothing. Then they loan it out to the governments for interest. So imagine that, Eddie. How rich could we become if we could print it out and then loan it out to other people in unbelievable amounts with no restrictions whatsoever.
And make money on the money.
That didn't cost anything to make. In other words, their dollars didn't cost anything, and they create money and then make money. And then it goes from beyond there into the local banks and the central banking system, and we have fractional banking. Fractional banking is where you and I put $1 in the bank and they create $7 out of your dollar. Now, all of this stuff going on. Now, how do they do that, Tom? Very simply.
Get some of that back. I don't get any of that other 6 that I helped them make. I
No.
don't get that back.
You put money in the bank.
My dollar.
And you call it a deposit. I deposited money in the bank. No, you didn't. You loaned it to the bank. That's why they have FDIC insurance to protect your deposit for you. But they take your money and they put the money in motion. They loan it out to other people. OPM, other people's money, is so important to understand that concept. because that's where wealth is created through leverage and using other people's money. It's exactly what the banks do. So they use other people's money. You put money in the bank, they loan it out to Joe and Mary on a mortgage. So don't they get collateral, Eddie? In other words, real estate is the number one thing that the banks loan money on.
House.
So, my house, okay? Even rental property. Real estate is a key to understand here because it's one of the places that, without question, the banks will lend money on real estate. We know that.
As far as a loan goes, that's
primary.
their option.
That's their number one option. They love real estate.
Over cars, over home improvements. It's all about purchasing
In other words,
real estate.
now their name is on your deed.
Yes.
They now indirectly own your home. They take that deed. It's a note, a bond in the mortgage documents, and they go to the Federal Reserve window. That's where they print money. Remember I said they print money over there? So they print money and they loan it back to the banks at 1/4% interest. And it runs around 95%. So there's a reserve, 5% reserve.
Okay.
So they get 95% of the value of that asset from the Federal Reserve again, loan it out in second position. So that might be another mortgage, a home equity loan, or whatever it is at position 2. Now, position 1, they're paying you 1% interest. If you can find 1% interest today, that's a challenge. Because somebody was in the other day, they had $100,000 in the bank. $100,000.
Nice.
And they were getting 0.01 interest.
So
1/10 of 1%, Eddie.
of one. So what were they getting?
So 1% on $100,000 is how much? $1,000, right?
So they were getting
So they were getting
1/10 of
$100 interest for the whole year on $100,000 in the bank.
That is the crappiest loan shark ever.
So now they loaned it out to somebody at 4%. Okay,
Nice.
they just made what? 300%. Cost them 1.
3.9%.
Loaned it out at 4, so they made 3 over. That's 300% profit. So now they loan it out in a second position, same thing.
Yeah.
Now they loan it out at 4 or 5 again. Do you get any of that, Eddie?
No.
No. They get all of that. So now they're at 9 or 8, okay? So now they take that asset that got collateral back to the Federal Reserve window, and they do this average 7 times. That's fractional banking. In other words, the money and everything is created out of nothing. So here, folks, this is the whole point of what I talk about is the blueprint that I created falls in line with the 5 laws of gold. The 5 laws of gold, number 1, you have to save a minimum of 10%. Now, saving 10% has been around for as long as I've been in the financial services business, since back in the 70s. And what has come to roost is that 10% is not enough money to save, so that when you get to retirement, you're potentially going to live 30 plus years in retirement. You're going to live in retirement almost, or if not more, years than you actually worked. 10% a year isn't going to cut it, folks.
Right.
The whole typical financial world focuses on saving money, creating net worth. You cannot eat net worth. Net worth does not send you a check every month. So the true definition of retirement planning, which is everything we do, is about someday I want to stop working or I won't physically be able to work.
Right.
And I need to have income that is equal to or greater than my lifestyle. Now, Social Security came into being, and I'm not saying Social Security is going to go away. I don't believe that. It's a scare tactic to get you to do something.
Right.
Most of the things that financial people tell you to get you to buy something is a scare tactic to get you to make an emotional decision.
Right.
Most of these decisions are emotional decisions.
And if you're scared that all that money that you put in for Social Security is going to go away, you're more likely to do that. But even if it doesn't go away, and I agree with you, I don't think it's going to.
No.
The lifestyle that most people live can't be supported by the lifestyle that Social Security is going to return to them.
I saw an analysis recently that if we think about age 65, in other words, where did the term retire at age 65 come from, okay? Mm-hmm. And it goes all the way back to an economist named Bismarck in 1880, 1890 in Germany. Now you realize in Europe, everything was socialistic at that time. And what they said is if you, a German worker, reached age 65, you ought to be able to retire and get some kind of government stipends to sustain you.
You survived.
But
working.
life expectancy in 1890, Eddie,
Yeah.
was age 49.
Yeah.
So think about that, and age 65. 1933 come along, here's Franklin Roosevelt, and he instituted Social Security in America, and when he did, there were 20-some people working to fund the one person that was retired at 65. And at 65, in 1933, life expectancy was age 61. But they
Okay,
still
so
used age 65.
We were still, I hate to say ahead of the game, but more people were contributing than would survive. long enough
Absolutely.
to
So
draw
here we
out.
come to today, and now it is under 3. There are less than 3 people contributing per one person, 3 to 1. So in a couple of years, Eddie, it'll be 2 to 1. You ready to pick out your senior that you fund and take care of? That's where it's at.
It's like an adoption agency, yeah.
And in
weird.
origination, Social Security was one leg of a 3-legged stool. That 3-legged stool was to be comprised of a retirement plan where you worked, personal savings was another 1/3, and 1/3 was Social Security. And today, people look to Social Security as basically their retirement plan.
Right.
Because if you think of retirement, and here, how much money do I have? Remember, there are 4 questions. Here I am, and I'm saving for retirement, and I have to have this lump sum of money in my mind. That's what the typical financial world is telling me. Well, why are they telling you that? Because it meets their 4 goals, their 4 rules for their financial success. Eddie, if you're the financial world over there, and I'm on this side of the desk, and I bring in some money, how much of my money do you want me to put in your banking store?
All of them.
All of it. So I want all your money.
Yeah, straight up.
Okay, I get paid twice a month, once a month. Should I direct deposit more money into your bank?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
you should.
So I'm
gonna take it and I'm going to loan it out 7 different ways while I got your money, and I'm doing you a favor at 1/10 of 1% at best.
And I have to have, it has to have cash flow because even the bank has to pay salaries and employees
Right.
and payroll and utility bills. So they have to do exactly the same thing that you and I do every day. They're just on a bigger scale. So in that process. So I want all your money. I want more ongoing. How long do you want me to leave it here, Eddie?
Forever and ever and
Forever and ever and ever. Absolutely.
I mean,
Now, when
I've
I get
already
ready,
got it.
I'm getting ready to retire, Eddie. How much do you want me to take out?
None of it.
Or
As
in
little
dribs
as
and drabs,
possible.
little bits and pieces, dribs and drabs.
As needed to keep from starving.
So, folk, remember, we're stretching your thinking muscle now.
Right.
You have to step back and say, okay, now there are 5 elements that we have to overcome to find financial success. 5 elements: risk, taxes, regulation, inflation, and depreciation of the money. Risk, taxes, regulations, inflation, and depreciation of the money.
I always take notes when you're here.
So the decisions that you make about your savings, does it solve any of those 5 things? And you'll find that more often than not, the things that we're told to do, because we don't think for ourselves anymore, we're told what to think. Most people are not taught how to think. And that is why everything I do is about stretching your thinking muscle to get you to think. Because when I get you thinking more, when I get you thinking differently about things, then you start to see things that you didn't see before. Your visions start to change, and the possibilities start to appear that are possible for your future. So now I want to develop passive residual income. That's what the banks are doing. The financial institutions, Wall Street, they're in cash flow. They move money constantly to make cash flow. That is the whole basis to what you should be doing. It's what I teach. Robert Kiyosaki, his book, Cash Flow Quadrant. If you haven't read that book, you need to get that book. Robert Kiyosaki, Cash Flow Quadrant. You should read his first book also, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Because rich people think like rich people and poor people think like poor people. And it's not good or bad. It's just the way we are led to think for ourselves.
I was led to think you go and you get a paycheck and you put it in the bank and you pay your bills, and if you can put a little aside, yay you.
Get Eddie, study hard, go to school, study
Right,
hard, and
right.
get a good job.
That's it.
And a job, in my mind, God bless you folks. We need people to go to work and do what they do, but I'm unemployable. I've been self-employed 48 of the 51 years, soon to be 52 years in April, that I have been married. And so I'm unemployable. I have made my own way. Good, bad, up and down. I've been through some really challenging times that I've had to overcome. But in challenging times is when I look back and I receive the most education about the financial things that I do, because I actually had to live through those ideas and challenges to get the answers to what we're talking about.
Is that human nature, that we're only interested in learning more when things aren't going well as we currently know them?
Well, I don't think we don't want to learn more. We seek out an answer to what's going on, but we don't look at it as gaining knowledge and growing. Here, I want an answer to a question.
Right.
Tell me what to think.
Yeah.
Tell me what to think.
Don't tell me
is
what to
happens.
think, how to think about the answer. Just tell me the answer.
Right. Now
Right.
we're gonna. I think we got to squeeze a couple of breaks in here.
No,
or we're gonna wait till the end.
No, we're going to save them all to the end because I want to talk more about gold. We've got
Okay,
about 3.5 minutes.
Okay, so here we are. Save 10% minimum. My goal, and what I tell people, you have to get to 20%. People say, well, how can I save 20% of my income? Well, add up all of your debt payments. In America, the average expense, average household in America spends 34.5 cents on debt and cost of debt, interest, and expenses.
So
Tied with debt. 34.5%.
Over a third just to stay even.
And on average, we spend 40% of our gross annual income in taxes.
All right, well, that don't leave much from the pie, Tom.
And 23%,
You keep taking pieces of the pie.
23% is lifestyle. In other words, it's food, shelter, clothing, which leaves on average about 2.5%. So we end up with very, very little. So it's not about chasing rates of return. How much more interest can I make? It's how do I lower my losses? How do I avoid my losses? See, that's my philosophy. Avoiding losses make you more money than chasing rates of return. Let's talk about the 5 gold. I'm going to go over them easy here because I'm doing them in my live broadcast at Facebook at noon. We'll get back into it. But goal number 1 is save at least 10%. Number 2 is profitable employment of your gold. Now, what do I mean by that, Eddie? You have to position your money where it makes you money, where you can derive income.
Okay.
And when I have income coming in, I take that income and I use it to start paying some of my expenses. As I accumulate savings, I now can have higher deductibles on my auto, my homeowners, my health insurance. I can have a longer waiting period on my disability. In other words, I lower the premiums I'm paying the insurance company, which allows me to do what, Eddie? Save more money.
Right.
So I want my money that I save, I want my gold, I want it in profitable employment. Number 3, gold comes to the protection of the cautious owner under advice of wise men. So much of what we do, we take advice from people that don't have the proof in the pudding. In other words, how can somebody that hasn't sustained a business or made money a long time and is pretty well off,
Right.
well, how do you have to make sure that the people that are giving you advice can quantify the advice.
Can explain to you, here's why
Exactly.
on paper this is good advice.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Rule number 4, gold slippeth away from the one who would invest in unknown and unfamiliar things. In other words, the bitcoins that are out there right now.
Right, the virtual money, yes.
Now, this ties into what I'm talking about for the big amounts of money, but Bitcoin is now accepted by banks, credit card companies,
Yeah, I know.
Tesla. It's the beginning of the Great Reset. And folks, I won't get into detail of the Great Reset because they'll talk, the big tech people will knock us off the air. That's a conspiracy. You shouldn't talk about that. But you need to go back. There was a meeting in Davos a month ago by all the world leaders, and Bill Gates was there, and all these people that are promoting one world government. Are you ready to give up all your freedoms, folks? That's what this is about.
Okay.
Goal number 5, gold flees from the man who forces it to do impossible things. Oh, I need to make 15% rate of return on my money, and oh, this hypothetical tax shelter thing. And folks, the turtle won the race. And I know we're about out of time, Eddie. I would think we out of time.
Getting there.
All right. But folks, you want to follow me on Facebook, share my Facebook page. We're now at 300 followers on there. Need to follow me on Facebook. I have over 5,000 followers on there now from around the world, folks. This stuff is so important to know. Share the show. Send me a note here. Go to my website, firstconsultantsinc.com. And go in there. There's a thing in there for the free book. You go in there and register in there. Mm-hmm. I'll send you an autographed copy, a free book. God bless. Eddie, it is such a pleasure to have you back. Last month was okay. It was fun. Yeah. And the guy that was here, I mean, doesn't do regular, and he doesn't really know who I am. So I appreciate you, Eddie. I appreciate you very much, and your interaction. You make the show fun. And what's going on instead of me sitting here and lecturing for 45 minutes.
I'm sitting and I'm hearing stuff, and I was that annoying kid in school that would raise his hand and say, no, I don't know what that means. So here, you're talking about personal spiritual growth. The pain in the neck that I was as a kid ended up being an asset for this. So I lived out some of what you talk about.
Absolutely.
Completely accidentally, of course.
Let me throw one last thing in as we wind it up here. The Summit to Success. We're gone. All right. Hey, folks, we're gone to commercial here at the radio show. Come back at noon. I'll be back on. You want to listen up and send me an email. Make sure you're on my mailing list for the Summit of Success that's coming sometime, probably the middle of March. I'd hope to get it done by the last week of February, but that's not going to happen. But the Summit to Success, we're going to have 30 speakers, virtual speakers in 3 days, talking about every aspect of success. Personal, financial, business, spiritual, physical. We're going to provide information to help you grow to the max. God bless everybody. Thanks for tuning in today, and we will see you again.